Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I have a really cool build for y'all. So my original assessment of Mamoswine was like, feels really tanky, feels really solid, and I didn't really see much opportunity for a damage build. But the more I play him, I don't know how much I enjoy him as a main tank. I think he's fine as a main tank, and we even did some games where I played, as you saw, if you saw the last video, go check that one out. If you saw the last video, we played some games where I played solo top Mamoswine, and it felt pretty solid, and I really enjoyed it. But I think that there might be an opportunity to run him as a second tank, which, like I said, we did, and I found a really fun damage build. So this feels like the best damage build that I've been able to find with him, and feels like the way to play it. So let's go on ahead and jump into it. So first and foremost, the abilities are going to be Icicle Crash and High Horsepower. Now, I'm not a huge fan of High Horsepower, but the reality is that it actually does do a pretty good amount of damage, and the combination with Icicle Crash, when you can break it, is quite a bit. Now, I'm probably going to show up on the screen the scalings, the damage scalings for Icicle Crash and High Horsepower. Granted, he doesn't have like the highest attack stat scalings himself, like inherently, like he only goes up to like 325, but his scalings in general are really high, which means that you can actually get some good damage when you put some damage items on, and we'll talk about the items here in a second. So let's look at Icicle Crash. First, damage is small icicles like 3 times, and it's 40% of the scaling, and then the rest of the equation. Damage from the large icicle is 60% of the attack scaling, and then the rest of the equation, and then the shatter is 80%. So you can see there's some pretty decent damage here. It's not the craziest thing in the world, but pretty solid, and yeah, you can actually get some good CC out of this, get some good initiation. I think Icicle Crash is just objectively better than Ice Fang lately. That's my feeling for it. Although Ice Fang does have some really nice scaling to it, not the point, but yeah, it has some really good application. As for High Horsepower, let's go ahead and check this out. So the scaling on this one is damage the charge, 61% attack scaling plus the equation. Damage the stomp is 122% plus the equation, and damage from the frozen stomp bonus. So if you can actually get that nice big stomp on there, or the big damage out of it, then you'll get like that final stomp, I suppose, or if they're frozen, you'll get a 91% like damage hit. So pretty solid there, if I'm honest. And honestly, Earthquake is pretty good too, because Earthquake has some pretty high scaling, so I might need to test that out as well. But High Horsepower, that ability to like slam forward, was feeling pretty good to me, and I was really liking it with the damage build. So we've got some pretty solid scaling. As for the ultimate, now we do have scalings for the ultimate, the Mammoth Mash. It's 153% on the first stomp. There's a mini stomp, like the 2 stomps, at 102% scaling, and the final stomp is 204% scaling. So you can see that this character has the ability to potentially do some damage, and I wanted to try it out, but I wasn't sure what build to run. So I've been thinking about it, and I didn't know exactly how I wanted to do it, and I thought back to my like Flail Snorlax build, the way that I was running it. Now with Flail Snorlax, there's some good opportunity to really run in and do a lot of auto attacks. So I was running Muscle Band, Scope Lens, and Weakness Policy, because Weakness Policy really only works with people with high health. I think the item is incredibly niche, and I don't really care for the item that much, but I decided to run a similar build. So this is going to be the build setup. We went Muscle Band, Razor Claw, and Weakness Policy. Now, Muscle Band, I honestly think it's a really good item on Mamoswine, no matter how you're trying to play the character, tank or not, whether you're doing damage or not. I think it's a really good item on Mamoswine. Razor Claw feels like a little bit of extra damage. It brings burst into the build because you have like the item effect and then the ability to slow them after you hit them. And then the Weakness Policy is like, hey, you're running in, taking damage, they're going to be stacking up your attack stat, and that additional attack stat is going to be tying into these equations. So this build, I'm not going to lie, I've played it a few times now, feels really strong. I feel like I'm able to just run around and stomp throughout the field, and I'm feeling pretty good at it. So as for how I would play this, you could maybe jungle this if you really wanted to, although I definitely don't necessarily recommend it, because I think Mamoswine's got a pretty solid laning phase, and you don't really need him to be in the jungle. But if you wanted to try to get ahead on this character to get the ultimate, I'm not going to lie, if you're running double tank and you're doing damage Mamoswine, just like I did with Flail Snorlax, I could see this in a coordinated setting where you're running 2 tanks. I really could see something like this working out. But otherwise, in the laning phase, you know, you don't have a score shield and you don't have a focus band, so you want to be a little bit reserved, but you do have the ability to fight and get some farm. I think, again, Icicle Crash really the like standout ability in this build, because you have the ability to poke at range. When you have Ice Fang, you really kind of struggle to do anything, and especially leading into first Dreadnought, if you're you're not like super high level for some reason, like getting super fed, you're going to kind of struggle to keep up and get in close range of them with Ice Fang to even grab somebody, and it just feels like you're really struggling. So Icicle Crash is really, really strong here. I do think that you could probably run high horsepower or Earthquake. I'm going to be testing it out a little bit. Right now I'm liking high horsepower for the damage build. Feels pretty solid, but honestly, I think that Earthquake would work just fine as well. You can still do the same kind of a damage combo. I maybe need to look and see which one would actually be higher. Earthquake has a higher scaling on the actual ability, but the high horsepower has multiple scaling lines, so I'm pretty sure you can get more damage out of it, which is why I've been kind of trying it right now. So this is how I've been running it. I think that it works really, really well. You do definitely have to position properly with the Mammoth Mash because you don't want to miss any of those stops. You have to really get in there and like get some of your CC and your combos down and you know, be ready for it. As for the battle item, I think that it's probably just best to run eject button. This eject button gives you the ability to like extend some of your abilities if you need to. You could like extend your high horsepower. You could you know, jump in, like use your eject button to jump in and then start the Mammoth Mash Unite move, and it gives you a lot of residency to try to make a big play. So I'm really enjoying this one. I'm definitely curious your thoughts on this. I hopefully had some solid gameplay and clips and things in the background for you to watch. But as always, friends, definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.